This is Coach Tamara here from Wealthy Woman Every Day, and I am so excited to share these success stories with you. Not only will they inspire you, but you will learn so many different strategies for growing your own dream business. So listen and be inspired. And if you have a success story that you would like to share, feel free to click on the link below and watch also a little bit more about being a part of Spotlight on Your Success. I will share your success story in my book, on my podcast, on my live stream that runs 24/7, and now on my TV shows. So to learn more about how you can become part of this amazing project, go ahead and click the link, or you can go to wealthywomaneveryday.com/spotlight dash on dash your dash success. I look forward to sharing your beautiful success story as well. Well, hello, wealthy women. It is Coach Tamara here with such a beautiful success story interview for you today. I am so excited. This is going to be so inspirational and so helpful that I really, let me not say anything more. I'm just going to pass over the microphone and the video and go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us who you are. What is the name of your business? Where can people find you? What do you do? And why do you love doing what you do?
Well, thank you, Tamara. I'm excited to be here as well. My name is Meg Johnson Hall, and I have a business called First Quality Consulting, and I'm located in Colorado. So I'm Rocky Mountain High. And I started this business a little over a year ago after working in healthcare for about 40 years, 41 years. And I'm a nurse by trade, and so worked in nursing and then moved into leadership and management. And the last probably half of my career, what I loved most was mentoring people, coaching people, and also helping to redesign healthcare delivery, especially in the ambulatory care environments, because it's we really, in order to retain staff and in order to get really good staff and provide quality care, we need to allow everyone to function at the top of their scope instead of having nurses doing paperwork and filing and those kinds of things. We need them to do patient education and assessments and plans and all that. So that was a lot of my projects in the last several years, probably 10, 15, 20 years, was really helping organizations redesign. And so I continued that when I retired out of full-time healthcare administration. I sat down and reflected and said, what do I love most? And what I love the most is working with healthcare organizations to redesign their delivery and coaching leaders and coaching individuals. So the leadership is just kind of something I did all through my career. But when I retired, I started to reflect on how I had become my authentic self. And so I looked at a couple turning points in my life. I grew up in a very abusive home, mentally ill, and how did I make it to where I made it to, completing college, going for my master's, having a successful career? What was the journey I took? And then how can I help others to make that same journey? So I developed a framework with the keywords authentic. And now I work with people. I do workshops on both leadership, leading authentically, and just leadership foundations, as well as helping to move people from living from everyone else's expectations into living to who they truly are and becoming their authentic selves. So what I do now is just simply joy. I just love working with people and working with organizations.
And tell me a little bit more about a lot of the women watching here. They're their own business owners, entrepreneurs. Can you talk a little bit about how your program, especially on authenticity, can really help them to dial in how to be their best selves in their
Right.
life and in their business? And what does that look like coming from such an amazing background of such expertise and knowing how to do all of this, whether it's in a corporate setting or to an individual? Like
Right.
maybe share a little bit, like how, what does that look like when someone is working with you that is a small business owner, entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges for me when I moved from corporate to my own small business was really narrowing down my niche. And everybody kept saying, you need to do that, you need to do that. And I'm like, I want to work with everyone. And that was really what I had to do. And I think that was probably the most difficult part of starting my business was, along with marketing, was really figuring out, I had become my authentic self. So how do I help others and help even organizations and leaders to truly figure out who they are, what they value? We do time studies to figure out how much of your time are you really spending in a week that lines up with your values. And so I think that helped me to not keep doing all this busy work and this other stuff and really focus on my core value, what I can give to others, how I can help leaders, small business people, women in general, to really figure out, am I living by others' expectations? And if so, how do I realign that? And it's not an overnight thing, it's a gradual process that we do, but it helps you when people feel you're authentic in your business, there's a stronger connection and they get better results and they also connect with you and really listen to what you have to offer when they realize how authentic you are.
And I think authenticity really, I mean, another definition of that is probably what makes you happy. Like, what is your
Right,
real joy? You know,
right.
we do this word authenticity means so much. It's such a
Mm,
beautiful word, and it carries such a presence of what we want to be. And I think in the simplest of ways, it's like what makes you happy
mhm.
and what doesn't, and then do more of what makes you happy,
Right.
and try and figure out how to get rid of the stuff
Yeah.
that doesn't, even if it's necessary, right? Like
Right.
I think we're all made so differently. Some people love being on calls, some people couldn't don't they just don't
Yeah.
want to be on sales calls at all or meetings or anything like that. Some people love computer work and another will run from it. And what do you say to, let's say, the beginning business owner that maybe has to wear all the hats, wants their dream to come true,
Mm,
knows there are things that are required, it's not just going to happen without the effort, but they're not yet in a position to be able to say delegate or hire out or maybe
mhm,
automate somewhere down the line. They have to do the things too that don't feel so authentic,
mhm.
but it's necessary because the bigger authenticity is that their dream gets
Yeah.
realized, right? So, but how, maybe you can give a couple tips for someone that struggles with that, and then this makes the journey for them to their dream life a little bit more difficult because it's like pulling teeth sometimes for certain parts of a business. All of us have something we don't love about our businesses, right?
Right,
But
exactly. And I think
yeah,
that's like any job we have. There's things that you just have to do. It's part of the job. And then there's things that you love to do. And I feel like during my career, a lot of what I had to do, I had to do. But then there was also those moments of what I got to do when I love, whether that be speaking to people, whether that be mentoring or coaching someone, whether it be redesigning. So when I got my own business, it was, yeah, I'm a one-woman show initially. And so I had to take those things that like marketing. Marketing, I'm not a salesperson at all. So I took a different approach where I develop relationships with people, relationships with other businesses. And I developed that first. And I love developing relationships. I love getting to know people. I love understanding what they do. And so I took that approach to marketing, which made it easier for me to do it. And then making sure you have time each week to do the things that you really love. Even if you
yeah.
don't have a lot of clients in the beginning, when I didn't have clients, I was busy writing my courses because I love to teach, I love to educate. And I was connecting with other people, getting opportunities to speak and share some of my messages. And I write. I love to write. So I've written a couple collaborative books. I got two more coming out in my solo book. So I tried to intersperse. I'd say, okay, so Tuesday morning, I need to spend the whole morning on finance, marketing, whatever. But then Tuesday afternoon, I get to spend it developing relationships, writing courses, writing in
I
my book,
love
whatever.
that.
So I
I
tried to
love
disperse it
that.
out during the week so that, yes, I had some things I had to do and I didn't love. But then I knew if I got the morning and I was really productive and got my checklist done, then the afternoon I could do the things that I love.
I think that's really great advice. We're going to actually jump right into the success questions because we're
Okay.
already starting to
Okay.
get into some good stuff. But before we do that, obviously, I love all the books that you have in the backdrop. And like you said, you're co-author and you're authoring and all of the good things. So, what is your website so that people can go ahead and find out more about all the great work that you do so that they can learn more about you and hopefully potentially work with you?
Absolutely. So my website, I think is above my head. It's
Uh,
www.firstqualityconsulting.com. And my email is meg@firstqualityconsulting.com. And yeah, when you go on my website, I have several different things. I have my consulting, I have my leadership coaching, my life coaching, and my speaking. And then I'm
wow.
also the two on the top here that you see are courses that I run, Foundations in Leadership, and then an authenticity course. So you'll see all of that along with more of my history and some freebie resources in there, all of that.
I love it. Fantastic. So I want to, before we even get into the questions, because you really made a really good, strong point about the things that aren't always the most fun to do in the business and that we all are in the same boat. It's very rare that someone might love every single moment of the business journey, right? I think that, but it builds character to push
Yeah.
through, right? And helps you to kind of navigate, understand others better. But I think that the idea of doing the harder parts first,
Mhm.
getting them out of the way is such great advice and like a little reward after. Like
Mhm.
your
Mhm.
reward is relationship building with others. So for
Right.
you, that was like your carrot, right? To have
Yeah.
that carrot in front of you. And I think that's really important because quite often we tend to procrastinate and put off the things that we really don't want to do. And the problem with that is it just really pulls the whole energy out the
Mhm.
longer you wait. And so the idea of getting it done and getting it over with, I know we've all heard this advice before, but I don't necessarily think we all take it. And it's
Mhm.
just a really good reminder that for all the women listening, you're not alone. There's
Mhm.
parts of
Mhm.
this business that are tough on me, Meg, all business owners. And if possible, find a way to reward it. Find also a way to reframe it. I also like what you were saying, Meg, about marketing is not exactly your style with the whole sales side, but you found a different way to kind of reinvent that. And we're still marketing. So
Right.
what I captured from this is if you have something in your business that you don't like, try and reframe it.
Mhm.
Definitely try and get it done sooner than later because
Mhm.
it will haunt you. It will not, it'll be like that little thing on your, it's going to,
Yes. Sitting on your
it's not,
shoulder.
yes, exactly. Get freedom. We want freedom, right? Part of freedom is doing the things as quickly as possible that we don't want to do. I mean, do them well, but I mean, do them
Mhm.
first and then have some sort of reward for yourself. So great advice on that. That was not a success question, but I think it's a very important thing that we talk about because we all talk about dream businesses and follow your joy and your bliss and your happiness and it's create your ideal life and it sounds like wait, I must be doing something wrong because I don't like this part of my business, but no, it's okay. It's
It is
you're
okay. And I think
it
the other
is
thing
okay.
that helps with that is that if I do it right away in whatever days I block it out, then when I do the stuff I love, I can do it with more freedom, not with that little nagging person sitting on my shoulder going, you didn't do your monthly budget
Yep.
yet, you didn't do your
Yes.
marketing calls.
Yes.
And it's
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah,
so
I mean
then I
we
don't
could
even enjoy what I'm doing
exactly.
later in the day or the next day. So, yeah, it really feels good. I'm a checklist person. So when I get those
Yeah.
things checked off, it's like this freedom comes, like you were
Yes.
mentioning.
Yes. And that's another good point for many of us, myself included. I even had an app like check it off, check it off. It's like it's a quick win and it feels
Yeah.
good and you feel sort of powerful and you're like, okay, what's next? So
Yep.
for those of you that like to write out to-do lists or have checklists,
Hmm.
whether it's an app or paper and pen, do it because it does keep you on track. Those it really does. It's helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to get right into the
Okay.
questions. And this is really very inspiring for many of the women that are growing their businesses or considering to grow their businesses. And they just feel like somehow everybody else can do it easily and they're having trouble. And then this is kind of that reminder to let them know, no, they're not they're not alone. We all have
Hmm.
had our road to success, and it's always in process, in my opinion. Right? We're always
Right.
growing.
Right.
So, okay. First question: if you could choose only one answer, what would be the number one way that you would encourage others to build their business? If you are a woman business owner, then go ahead and get some free visibility for your business. I am offering you the chance to not only be in my upcoming book, but you will also be included in my podcast compilation, my 24/7 YouTube live stream compilation, and now even on my TV show on Roku and Amazon Fire TV. All you need to do is go ahead and click the link on the bottom of this episode, or you can just go to wealthywomaneveryday.com/spotlight dash on dash your dash success. I am so excited to share your success story and get you the visibility that you deserve. Go ahead and click on that link today.
Mm. I would say focus your niche around what brings you joy and what you've gotten feedback that you're just really good at. So starting there, and then, we all have to pivot. So I just finished a pivot myself, and know that it's okay. Even if you start
Yes.
out with that biggest joy, know that it's okay to reassess, every 6 months or every year and do a pivot.
Perfect. I love that. That's good advice. And then I'm just curious, especially because you've had so many years working in a more corporate setting, and now you're doing your thing as your own businesswoman. What is the biggest feeling of joy that you get from being your own boss compared to, working in an established company?
For me, it's freedom. Most of the time I can work from anywhere, unless I'm actually at a healthcare organization, but most of the time I work from anywhere. And so my husband is fully retired. And so we can travel, we can go see his family or my family, and I can still do my work. If we're seeing family, it's maybe not a full day, but I can schedule my own schedule. I can say, okay, I'm going to only work 4 hours this day because we're visiting family. I'll work in the morning. And like I said, I can do it from anywhere. Whereas when I was in corporate, I had to do it there. And so the other thing is when I want to take a vacation, I can just schedule it ahead. As
Yeah.
long as I plan ahead far enough, I can take vacations whenever I want to take them. So that I love that.
And I love that too. And I think that I have a couple questions that aren't actually on here because I think you have such a great, um, two different worlds that you've
Mhm.
lived and what you're living now, and can really make a great comparison. Some of the benefits, let's say, of having employment is we have to show up. They want us clocked in at 9, we leave
Yep.
at 5, something like that keeps us accountable, right? Or
Yep.
else we
Right.
don't have a job or
Yeah.
money or all the things. This is definitely for some, it's like they'll work round the clock. For others, it's kind of like it needs to be more inspired movement. However, how would you or how did you keep yourself accountable when for years, you didn't necessarily have to do that. You just had to show up at your job because that was
Mhm.
what was expected. And you have this freedom doing it your own way now. How do you not get loosey goosey with that? I guess is the best way of saying that.
Yeah, I think I did now and then get a little loosey-goosey with it. And all of a sudden I realized, it's been a day and a half and I haven't done anything for work. Oops. But I also have things that are structured. I have networking meetings that I attend in person around here. I have networking meetings I attend online. I'm going through John Maxwell's training for speaking
Mhm.
and coaching as another kind of niche. And so I try to, and my husband knows that basically from 8 to 5, 5:30, sometimes 9 to 5:30, I'm working. And so you just do you, and I'll do
Mhm.
me. And I come up in my office, I come down for lunch, but I just have it really structured. In the beginning, I was kind of like, oh, I'll just sit with you on the couch and do my work. And pretty soon we're in this conversation. I'm not getting anything done. So I learned some lessons that first year of, I really need to structure my time. Same with my writing. I was getting so
Mhm.
busy doing other things, I was not writing. And so I structure, I have a writing coaching group on Tuesday mornings. So the rest of Tuesday morning is all writing. And then I'll write a little bit on another day. But so yeah, it's really about keeping that structure, even though no one is saying you have to. Your wallet will eventually say you have to.
That is so true. Very true. And then let's say for example, do you, when you do your scheduling, do you prefer like to have one day dedicated to content, another day dedicated to networking, or do you kind of like mix up your routines um during every day?
Yeah, I do half days focused on something. So a half day focused on writing or a half day focused on creating content, half day networking, and those kinds of things. And for me, I don't know if I have mild ADHD, but to work on one thing all day long, it just doesn't work for me. So it's
Yeah,
better for
yeah.
me to split it into half days.
Split it into, because I've heard both sides of those
Yep.
arguments. And I think I'm really interested because you have such a very interesting, opinion for both sides of it now. And the other thing I wanted to ask you, you are connected so much with your writing group, your
Mhm.
networking, your courses, because a lot of entrepreneurs, especially if they've left the corporate job, that can feel very empowering and freeing, but then sometimes that loneliness
Lonely.
will set
Yeah,
in. And
exactly.
that can be hard on someone, especially if they're very social. Some
Yeah.
people love the loneliness, they want to be all by
Mhm.
themselves. But the majority, especially that I'm aware of, they struggle a little with that. So have you found like joining these groups and so forth to kind of fill that void that you used to have when you worked in a physical location with other people?
Yeah, that's so true. I'm a very social person. I love interacting with people. I love interacting with people on the screen, but there's something special about interacting in person. So the first probably 5, 6 months, I wasn't doing that. And I actually started to get really kind of sad. It was like, okay, here I go back to my office all day again today, all by myself.
Yeah.
And so I had to, and the other part of it is my marketing is much more relationship built. So I'm like, I need to get out there, not just do relationships online, which I love, but I also need to get out there and do some local relationships and get to know people. It'll solve two problems. It'll build more, relationships for my business, but it also will get me out and fulfill that social part of me.
Well, I love that. So it's like you recognized in yourself what was missing, but you found a solution for it. It wasn't like you just stayed in that negative
Yeah.
energy. You said, okay, I'm aware this is bothering me.
Yep.
I have the power and ability to figure it out and fix it. So I think this is really good. These are actually questions I've honestly never really asked any of my other
Mhm.
guests, but I think it is really important because there are a lot of people coming out of corporate, whether by
Yeah.
choice or they didn't have an
Yep.
option, and now they're considering to go ahead into their own businesses. And the fact that you have so much expertise in leadership, that you know how to put a program for your whole life, your whole self, your
Mhm.
business together to make it effective and efficient, and valuable to others as well as yourself. And then you have this whole authenticity part, which is so important because, you know, women that are going into their own business, like, let's get them on the right track right away instead of
Yeah.
them going in the wrong direction and
Yeah.
figuring it out. Oh, now they have to turn around and get on
Yeah.
another track that's more in line with them. And so I'm really intrigued by your perspective on this. And that's why I'm kind of leaning into some
Yeah.
of these questions a little bit more. So I think this will be very valuable. Um, a lot of times I speak very much to the entrepreneurs, and that's perfect. But there really is that a large amount of people coming in from corporate and going into this matter, especially women.
Yeah.
We are actually building businesses much quicker than men are, like our own businesses. So thank you for sharing.
Mhm.
So now I'll get
Absolutely.
now I'll get into a couple of these actual questions I usually ask, but thank you for that. So we touched on some good things there, I think, right?
Yes, I think so too.
Okay, this is kind of a little bit again about efficiency,
Mhm.
being your own leader. What empowering routines, I call them wealthy woman habits, do you follow each and every day? And if you miss a day, you feel like I'm off, like my day's not as great as it could have been because I missed whatever.
Yeah, I would say two or three main ones. One is meditating in the morning.
Mm,
Um, I love to meditate, and so I do that routinely every morning, and that just kind of starts me out grounded, centered, focused. Um, The other thing is making sure that I'm getting good nutrition through the day. So taking, when I worked in corporate America, it was meetings from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then you started working. And most of the time you didn't get lunch or you ate lunch, during a meeting, whatever. So I'm trying to purposely take that half hour to, go get something healthy to eat, to just take a break from the screen, from the paper, whatever. And then the other piece is exercising. So every day I do something, whether it's yoga, whether it's going for a walk, whether it's going to the gym to do some strength training. And that one, I think that one and meditation are probably the ones that I notice the most. If I skip it, it's
yeah.
like, oh,
Yes, yes, I agree. I agree with you. For me as well, I'm a big nature walk person,
hmm,
and I split my time between California and Europe. And of course, for California, it's pretty much like every day is a perfect day to walk,
yeah,
especially around the beach. And sometimes in Europe, you have the storms and the rain and the
yeah.
wind, and I'm like, to be quite honest with you, it's been like that the last couple days. I mean, sheets and sheets of rain and gusts of wind where it wasn't about like me like being a little bit of a baby and not
Hmm,
dealing with the weather. I
hmm.
mean, it was that bad. And I finally got out today and my entire personality just lifted. And
Yeah,
so, you
exactly.
know, and that is only going to make us be better business owners, better people, have better relationships. And so I think absolutely. And everything you said, I love too. I love meditating and, and all of those things. They really set you up for a good forward movement,
Yeah,
for the rest of your day.
I
Okay,
agree.
another question is how do you deal with fear and doubt, especially in the beginning when it came to going online and in a visible in getting yourself out there, whether it was Facebook lives or something. And this, of course, I'm sure was also something interesting when you made your transition from corporate. How did that happen that you overcame those initial butterflies, let's call them?
Yeah, I mean, initially, so doing things just like this or, talking in an online meeting or a networking meeting was no problem. My struggle was two things. One was going on video by myself.
Hmm.
And I was just so self-critical and still struggle with a little bit of that. The other one is going out in person in the community to these network things and saying what I say. So I really struggle with my elevator pitch. And so I could go on for 2 hours and tell you about what I do, but when I have to do it in 15 to 30 seconds, it's a bigger struggle for me. But someone that I met actually in a networking group where I went on said, focus one thing a month. So when you come to the group, talk about, like this last month, I said, if you know women over 35 who feel like they're living for others' expectations, I've got a solution for them. And so that was such a powerful moment for me. So being open to feedback from others and sharing your struggle, because a lot of people have those same struggles.
Yes, I that's really actually a really great point. I think one of the best things that I've seen switch is in the very beginning. I mean, the beginning for me, when I noticed it, at least, when I was first coming online, everything was perfection and
Yeah.
polished, and you had to look like a supermodel. And then, if you're sort of like, you know, maybe not a supermodel, you're like, okay, well, I should lose weight first, get my hair done, whiten my teeth, wear the right clothes before I should show up. And then, thank the Lord that that has changed. Now, it goes right in line with what you teach, is that authenticity, the ability to show up, make mistakes, not look
Mhm.
perfect, whether you, no matter what, this is what resonates with people, because
It
this
is.
is the normal life of normal days for most people, and when they see others, um not being so perfect, it gives them
Mhm.
that permission to just say, okay, I can do this. And it
Yeah.
just is, it's endearing, is what it is. Nobody wants to be like, no one, like, they think they needed to be like that perfection, and then it turns out, no, nobody really wants that, because it's not relatable. And even in the very beginning, for example, when I did my very first success story interview,
Mhm.
recorded it, there was a little lag time at the end, and putting the glasses on, and how do I shut this off, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't have that on there. That's like imperfect. And I remember it was very confusing how to, in the beginning, how to clip it and make it better.
Mhm.
I think I probably I mean, wasn't wasted, it was learning, but it had to be over an hour, 20 minutes that I was frustrated trying to figure out how to make it perfect, right?
Yeah.
And then I realized, this, I'm not doing that anymore. No, I don't care. And I don't mean it in a like
Right.
unprofessional way,
Right.
but my message, or the message of the person that I'm speaking to, matters more than the last, I don't know, 6 seconds that it
Right.
looks, and I let it go. And no one's ever called me on it and said,
Right.
oh, I have one of the most popular podcasts with all of the things or videos
Mhm.
and everything like that. So I'm not worrying about it. And I think that that permission to be perfectly imperfect is
Right.
a very important thing. So I
Yep.
love
Let
that.
it go. Like you said, just let it go.
Let it go. Exactly. Okay, one other question I have for you. Um, and you spoke about niche and everything like that, but I want to talk a little bit deeper about like the soul's purpose. Some women, they just know, they, let's just say, they know they don't want to do a corporate regular job.
Mm.
They want to be their own business owner. They're confused, they don't exactly know, what is that, what am I here to do, serve, be, and they want it to really resonate with their whole heart and soul, but
Mhm.
they don't know exactly where to start. What would
Mhm.
be your suggestion for them to kind of like start to really kind of connect in a very soulful manner, to get a clear understanding of what their mission is meant to be for them?
Right. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And, I again went through that too. And that's kind of what led to me to design my authenticity model that I do is you have to look at what you're good at, what you value, what brings you joy, and what's realistic for you to do. And so that's a part of many times when we're coaching folks is what we do is let's really talk about, what are you good at? What do people comment on that you're good at? And then the other thing is, what have you been through that you might be able to help others go through? So I will share with people, growing up in that very negative environment and in a two-step, I mean, I had two turning points that really got me to where I am. And so other people I see are stuck in that kind of victim mentality, that I'm no good, I'm useless. And so it's fun and it's exciting to be able to help people move out of that. So, yeah, I think it's what you're good at, what people have commented on that you're good at, what you've been trained to do, all of those things, and then what brings you joy and what is in alignment with your values.
Yes, that's, it's interesting that you say that too, because when you are good at something and you love it, that's perfection,
That's
right? Chef's
magic.
kiss.
Yeah,
That's magic. But there's a lot of times that you can be really good at something, but it's not your joy. I've
right.
actually had this happen to me, where it's like, I've been told, or I've had my own experience that I'm really good at a different type of skill set. And it just, that might be the case. And part of me thought, like, it's just not me. And you feel a little bit like, am I wasting this skill set?
Yeah.
Because obviously I
Yeah.
have some kind of, ability with it, but
Right.
in the end, it's more about the joy than the skill set, right? So like
Yeah, and finding your market that wants and needs what you have to give.
yes,
So
yes,
not always, not everything that I love to do I get to do because there may not be a market for it.
that's also a great point. So there you go. That is very true. Like, I'm sure we all probably like a good TV show, but no one's gonna pay you for that.
Right.
Like that might be something you love for fun, but doubt you're going to make a career out of it. I'm being silly now, but
Yeah.
I understand your point.
Yeah.
You can have a skill set that you're great at and not want to do, and then you could have something you're so joyful about, but might not be marketable. So there
Mhm.
really is that, middle.
Yeah,
That
it's
middle,
a
you have to
science
make
to
them both
find that.
meet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think it's always super easy for people to figure it out, especially
No,
if they're coming from a completely different background, right? So,
I
okay,
agree.
now that you have your own business, what about it will you never compromise, no matter what, on your in your business, like your value system for that?
I mean, I think the integrity that I work with, the confidentiality with my clients, I think those are two things that, especially being a nurse for 40 years,
Yeah,
that's just so critical to me is, I honor everyone's confidentiality and making sure that what we say in the room stays in the room kind of thing. And then just being authentic, holding my integrity. So if I say I'm going to do something, doing it. I think those are the two most important things for me.
yes, yes, exactly. Let me just close that off there. Okay. And then last question.
Sure.
What is your number one professional tip now that you've been your business owner person now in this realm? What would be your number one professional tip for women to grow their businesses, especially initially?
I think it's that initial process of really honing in, at least initially, on what you think your product is and your niche is,
Mhm.
and then being open to reassess that. And because I was going to focus only on healthcare consulting. And then after a year, I had to reassess and go, oh, you know what? There's more of a market and more of a need for this leadership coaching and for this authenticity program than there is right now for healthcare consulting. So finding that niche, giving it a shot. It's okay if it isn't perfect. It's okay if you need to pivot. Um, and then do that process again and figure out, okay, here's what seems to be what I'm hearing. Do some market research, do some talking to people in your network, and then redefine it, update everything, and go for it.
I love that too because it gives the person freedom to be able to zigzag their way to
Yep,
this success. I think sometimes we get so determined that we said we were going to do this and that's what
yep,
we're going to do. We're not going to stop until we finish it. And somehow, if we don't, we think that somehow we failed, but that is not the case at all.
right.
Sometimes you are meant to be led into an entirely different focal point because it is better for the people that you serve, it's better for
Mhm.
yourself, and you have to have that flexibility, and that is where that freedom comes in too, right? And that authenticity. So I love it. Okay, now you mentioned two more books coming out, so tell me about what's going on in your world in the future, and where, how do you want to grow out your business? And then before we end, just one more time, I know it's on there, but for those that are listening, just go ahead and share your website one more time.
Absolutely. So this fall is when I actually launched these two mastermind courses. They're 2 days, 3 hours each day. One is focused on the foundations of leadership, and the other one is focused on authenticity. So I'm super excited to continue those. I'm going to do one a month, so alternating months. And they're very low cost. So it's really just something to secure your place and so you don't forget about, I signed up for this. We really want people to show up. So that's really exciting. I have a 365-day collaborative book coming out that's collaboration with a lot of people. It's founded by someone else. And the one this year is on resilience, and I'll be putting it on my webpage as soon as it's for sure. But I have 2 different days in there. And so it's a quote, an original quote, a reflection, and then a question for days on resilience. So I'm excited about that coming out. We're still doing promotions on Cracking the Rich Code, the book that I was in, volume 18. And my chapter in that is on authenticity. And then I'm doing another collaboration that's coming out the first of the year, Seasons of Her Heart. So it's all women who are sharing the seasons that they've gone through and reflections on that. And then I'm hoping by the end of next year to have my solo book out, which is really going from surviving to thriving. That's not the official name, but it's talking about everything I went through as a child and then my process of recovering from that, learning from that, and growing from that. So yeah,
Wow.
lots of exciting things going.
Yes, you are an inspiration. I am so thankful. You have so much wisdom and you have so much the what you're teaching and helping others with are so foundational.
Yeah,
I highly recommend all of you to go check out Meg's site because this is foundational work. You know, if you want to grow out your business, if you want to do it in the most authentic version of yourself, this is something that would be so helpful. Or check out her book
mhm.
offerings that she has showing on her website as well. So, one more time, what is your website for those that are listening
Yeah,
in? And thank you so
it's
very much for being here.
oh, thank you. It's been a pleasure. So my website is www.firstqualityconsulting.com, and my email is meg@firstqualityconsulting.com. So I'm
Um,
excited to talk with you guys. I also have my LinkedIn page, which is Meg Johnson Hall, and I post at least 2 or 3 articles a week on LinkedIn. So it's another great place to connect.
what an inspiration. Thank you. This is, you can even just speaking with you, I think we are all getting ideas on how to organize ourselves better, how to set ourselves up for success, basically, and really and give ourselves that freedom to, pivot and go with
Right.
the flows that our businesses take us in. And I think that this is such a helpful interview and
Awesome.
inspiring, and I just want to say thank you so much for being here. Thank
Thank you
you.
for the opportunity.
Oh, my pleasure. Okay, wealthy women, this is another power packed interview with so many tips you can start using right now. Reach out to Meg. Just go for your dreams. Don't be so hard on yourself. Just get started. You know, we grow as we go, basically. It's not an overnight process, and it's not necessarily an easy process either, but that's okay. Enjoy it. If you're focused mainly on the things that bring you joy and know that are making a difference in other people's lives, you are so on the right track. Just keep moving forward. And that is it for this interview. See you next time, everybody. Bye for now. If you are a woman business owner, then go ahead and get some free visibility for your business. I am offering you the chance to not only be in my upcoming book, but you will also be included in my podcast compilation, my 24/7 YouTube live stream compilation, and now even on my TV show on Roku and Amazon Fire TV. All you need to do is go ahead and click the link on the bottom of this episode, or you can just go to wealthywomaneveryday.com/spotlight dash on dash your dash success. I am so excited to share your success story and get you the visibility that you deserve. Go ahead and click on that link today.